Good evening, everyone, and I hope you guys are doing pretty good. So, we are in the 90 days SDET interview preparation series, and today is going to be the day 23. Now, in today's class, I just want to take a very lightweight, simple topic. And the thing is, even though this is a lightweight and technically a very simple question, but it has been asked a lot of time. So it would be great that you and we both practice this particular question so that the next time when this particular question is asked to you in interview, you are well prepared for it as well as you are confident on the topic. Now, the question over here is pretty simple. The interviewer wants us to filter data. That's it. The interviewer wants us to filter data. Now, the moment you see the word filter popping up, you just need to understand that the moment you see the word filter, you will be using the topic of your streams. The Java stream topic is going to come into picture. So what interviewer is asking us, ki baba, see, there is going to be a list of employee data or list of employees, and you need to filter employee on the basis of salary. We need to filter employee on the basis of salaries. So the moment I see the word filter popping up, you need to understand that this is a topic, a question which is related to the topic of stream. So before we dive into the whole stream concept and all those things, let's try to create a collection of employees. So I have already created a package called com.day23 and you guys can literally create it along with me. So at your end, I want you guys to quickly create a package com.day23. Okay. Now, next thing, what you will be doing is you will be creating a class. Let's call this particular class as an employee class. Okay. So I'm going to have this employee class ready. And inside this employee class, we are going to have some instance variable. Okay. So I'm going to have employee is going to have some kind of an ID. Employee is going to have a name. Okay. Then employee is going to have what? A department. Okay. So I'm just going to call this as department. Employee is going to have salary. Okay. So what I've done is I have created an employee class, and inside this employee class, I have some instance variable. Now, I hope everyone knows that where exactly instance variable we created in the memory. Yes. Instance variable are created inside which memory space? They are created in the heap memory. What is so special about heap memory? That no matter what variable you are creating over there, these variables will always be initialized with default value. Okay. So if you're going to create an object of employee class, ID is going to have the value 0. Name and department, because they are string is a non-primitive data type, they are going to have the default value as null, and salary is also going to be 0 because it's a numeric data type. Now, who is going to initialize the instance variable? Yeah, whose job is to initialize the instance variable? The job of your constructor is to initialize the instance variable. So over here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hit enter. I'm going to right click, and then we will go to source, generate your constructors using the field, click on generate, right click, source, and then I'm just gonna add some getters and setters because we want to implement encapsulation also. So you're just gonna click on generate, right click, source, and just have a toString method. And toString methods are generally a very important method because it's gonna give me a one-line description of the state of that object. Okay. So what we have created over here, guys, when I added a constructor, getter, setter, and a toString method, what do you call this class? This class is what kind of a class? Tell me. It's a Pojo class, plain old Java object. Now, over here, guys, what we will be doing is we will be having our main runner class coming into picture. So this is going to be a runner class. And inside this particular runner class, I'm going to have this main method. Let's zoom in so that you guys can see it properly. And what I'll be doing is I'll be creating the first object of employee class. So over here, even is what? Is even my object? Even is not an object. Even is your reference variable. So over here, this is my object. And over here, I'm just going to keep on giving some ID. So employee is going to have an ID 101. I'm going to give a name. Let's say the name over here is Jatin. Then this is going to be department. Let's say this is going to give a QA. And let's say I'm going to put some salary, let's say 10,000. Okay. So over here, when we are talking about objects, okay, object is basically what? Object is basically a real world entity, something that exists in reality. I exist in reality. I'm occupying this space on this chair, this room and all. So the thing is, whenever you're creating an object, that object is going to occupy some space in the memory. Now, I have a name, okay? So the name over here becomes an instance variable, okay? I might have a employee ID, okay? So I'm going to give an employee ID over here. Then I'm going to have a department, a role over here that is going to be QA. And as I'm working, I'm going to have some salary. So what you see over here, guys, is these are all the values of, okay, for the state of that object. So over here, name, your employee ID, your department, your salary, these are all the state for this particular object. State means the information for that particular object. So employee is going to have a name, employee is going to have an employee ID, employee is going to have a department, employee is going to have a salary. Okay, so that's how you call it off. And now, because we have added a toString method, if I just do a sysout and I just say E1, save this, click on the play button, you will notice that I'm getting this data. Employee ID is 101, name is Jatin, department QA, salary is 10,000. Perfect. So this is how, like your Pojo class comes into picture. A lot of time in interview, they will ask you the question where you have used Pojo classes in your automation framework. Let me show you over here one of the framework that we have created in the SDET master class. So this is the CHAP Phoenix test automation framework. If I open the SRC test Java, boom. This is a very highly enterprise level automation framework that we have created, and you will notice that it's technically having a hell lot of component. If I'm not wrong, around 25-26 components are there. And the thing over here is you see this com.api request model and response model, right? Whenever we are talking about model classes are basically what you call it, okay, as a Pojo class. Now, you'll be like, Jatin, you have a class that you have created and it has some of these instance variable. Perfect. But where is constructor? Where is this getter setter? Where is this toString method? Now, because I'm using the Lombok library, okay, I'm technically using annotation. So I'm going to have an all argument constructor. So over here, you will notice that I have a constructor, okay, which takes technically the parameters. So if I'm using the Lombok library, okay, these boilerplate codes, I don't need to write it off, okay? But right now we are practicing, that's the reason we are creating these things. But in real world application, you really don't do that, okay? You want data. What is this data? Data basically talks about these getters, setters and all, the toString methods and all those things. So in your main framework, you will always use these third-party libraries like Lombok, which is going to help you reduce the boilerplate code, okay? You can also use records, okay? Records are also pretty good, okay? If you want, you can use record also. And records are technically inbuilt feature itself of your Java now. And with the help of record, I'm just going to specify my instance variable and boom, it has created the Pojo class for me. Okay, it's a pretty fun thing. Okay, so if you're interested, do check out the SDET masterclass. But this is where you will always use the Pojo classes. Now over here, guys, we have created one object. That's great. Okay, we got this particular object and we are printing it off. But we want to do filtration. Okay, and when we are talking about filtration, right? Filtration, or you're going to use the topic of stream on a collection, on a list of employee. So over here, I'm not just going to have one employee. I'm going to have a list of employee. So what I will be doing is I'll be creating a list of employee. Okay. I'm going to call this as an employee list equal to new. Okay. Array list of that employee. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this employee list and I'm going to keep on adding employee. So you have the add method coming from your list interface, right? So I can add employee. Now over here, if you notice, I'm creating list of employee. So what is this? What is this? This is basically called as your generic. Okay, this is generic. Again, a very interesting interview question. What is the purpose of generics? What is the purpose of generics? Generics basically offers you type safety. Okay, generic basically offers you type safety. If I was not putting this, technically what is going to happen is that I can add anything. Okay, now you'll notice that I'm getting the option to add anything inside the list. I can add a string. Okay, I can add let's say your employee object. Okay, then I can add a number. Okay, so technically if I want to make sure that I'm able to add only specific kind of data in a list, okay, that's the reason you will always use generic. Okay, you should always have a type to a list. Is this part making sense to everyone? So over here, you're just going to say that list of employee. Okay. Now you will notice that the moment I said list of employee, I have added this generic over here. Over here, I'm getting error for line number 12 and line number 14, which says that you can't add a string and you can't add a number. Okay. So the thing is, we are doing type safety with the help of generics. Now, again, some of you guys will ask, Jatin, where you have used generics in your framework and all those things. The thing is, you will definitely use generics in your data provider, if I'm not wrong. Let me just check. Yeah, this is where I use generics. Okay. So you will notice again, iterator of user bean, iterator of create job bean. And I'll show you one more thing. If I go to load CSV method, okay. So over here, you see this class T, na? So this basically means that this bean can be of a certain type. Okay. So my data can be in different CSVs, but I only have one load CSV method to handle everything. Okay. So generics are basically used in this scenario a lot, and it's really important you should be aware of, okay, how you're using generics and your, collections as well as streams in your project, because this is where, like your companies will start checking your knowledge. I'm writing these codes in front of you guys is good for your fundamental knowledge and all. But unless you build projects, okay, you will never be able to, like correlate. This is where I'm supposed to use streams. This is where I'm supposed to use, like generics and all those stuff. So you should always build projects. Now, I have always seen that, when people start studying, okay, I'll pause over here for a moment. I want to talk to you guys. I've always seen that whenever people are preparing for interviews and all, their approach is, ki baba, I'm going to start watching tutorial videos. Okay, that's the worst way to prepare it off. Okay, that's the worst way to prepare it off. Always build projects. Okay, because if you're building the projects, what is going to happen? You're gonna start facing challenges. You're gonna start facing issues. Okay, while building that particular project, and whatever the challenges that you face while building your framework, integrating it with your CI pipeline and all those stuff, that you will always remember. Okay, people don't remember the good test scripts that they have written. They will always remember the test scripts which were failing. Okay, so that's the reason you should always focus on building the projects. Don't go into, like just learning in that tutorial format and all. Okay, if you really want to build projects, there's this one tutorial that I had created, and I believe most of you guys have already watched it, or you might have seen it. That is the API automation framework. Okay, it's a 5 hours masterclass that I've created on YouTube, and it gives a very good detailed knowledge on how exactly a framework needs to be created and all. Of course, it's not as in depth of the framework that I built in the SDET masterclass, but it is definitely going to help you out, at least speak something in the interview. Okay. Now, anyways, we have this one object that we have added in this particular list. Now, we'll keep on creating multiple employees and keep on adding it into this employee list. I'm going to say employee list dot new employee. This is going to be 102. Let's say the name over here is going to be Shreya, and department is going to be, let's say, development, and the salary over here is going to be like, let's say, 15,000 and all. Okay, let's add one more. Okay, and this is going to be from the DevOps perspective. Let's say this is going to be Raj. Okay, the employee ID is going to be 103. Salary is going to be, let's say, 20,000. Okay, let's copy one more and I'm going to paste it over here. Let's say this is going to be employee ID 104. This is going to be Rahul. Okay, and again we have a developer. Let's say the salary over here is going to be 5,000, something like that. Okay, this is something that we have written. Now we have a employee list. Okay, now tell me something. I want to traverse this particular list. How can I do that? How can I do that? I want to print all the employee objects on my console. How can I do that? So what are you going to say? Some of you guys will say that, Jatin, use a for each too. I'm going to say for. You're going to tell me to pass the employee list. Okay. And from this employee list, one by one, I'm going to get what? Employee kind of a data. So this is going to be employee temp. Okay. And then I can simply say system.out.println 10. Okay. Save this particular chap. Let's click on the play button and you will notice, boom, all the employees are getting printed over here. Now, some of you guys will say that, Jatin, the first employee is getting printed twice. This is because of this chap, na? Control-Shift-C, comment it off. Let's click on the play button one more time. And you will notice Jatin, Shreya, Raj, Rahul, okay? The 5 employee details are getting printed over here. So this is your for each loop that comes into picture, okay? Now, there's one more better way to actually use it off. Okay, I can say employee list dot, and you're going to find something called as for each. This is something which is really interesting. Okay, you can use your for each method directly on this particular collection. Okay, I'm going to say for each. One by one, I'm going to give an employee object. And technically what this guy is going to do, it's just going to print it off over here. Let's remove this particular semicolon. This is your lambda expression. It basically means that from this particular employee list, one by one, I'm going to get an employee kind of a data and I'm just going to print that employee kind of a data. That's it, what is happening. So if I just comment this particular chap, let's click on the play button, boom. Yeah, how could I say? Okay. So most of you guys are technically aware of this first line. I'm pretty sure on that. But this is something that you should definitely be aware of. You can use the for each method. And over here, we are giving a lambda expression. Okay. Just to reiterate, from the employee list, one by one, I'm going to get employee kind of a data and we are just printing the employee kind of a data. Perfect. Okay. Now, what we want over here is we want to filter the employee data. And let's say we want to filter on the basis of salary because this is the simplest way to do that. So we have a salary of 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 and 15,000 or 5,000. And I want to print, I want to print all the employees which have the salary greater than 10,000. Okay, greater than 10,000. Okay, so we have only 2 employees which basically have salaries greater than 10,000. Okay, one we have Shreya and then we have Raj popping up, right? So over here, what we will be doing is we will be using stream. Okay, we will be using stream. So whenever you're going to have a collection, you can apply a stream. Now, let's say in interview, they ask you the question, what is stream? What are you going to say? What is the purpose of stream? Yes. The purpose of stream is to do data manipulation on a collection. With the help of stream, I can filter data, I can map data. Okay. All those things I will be able to do with the help of stream. Okay. So it is basically used for data manipulation on a large data set. So the thing is, when we are talking about stream, from the list, the data is going to be converted into stream. Stream means one by one, the data is going to be given to a like different operations. So over here, what I want to filter it off. So I'm going to say filter method. This is the method that I got, filter method. And here I can give my lambda expression. So from the stream, I'm going to get one by one employee kind of a data. And what I want to do with this employee kind of a data, I want to get the salary, okay, get the salary. And if the salary is going to be greater than 10,000, I want to store that stuff in a list. Done. So what I've written, from the employee list, I'm converting it into a stream. I'm going to get a stream over here. And from this particular stream, okay, we will apply a intermediate operation. This is an intermediate operation over here. And what this intermediate operation is going to do is that, ki Baba, I will be getting this employee object, and I need to check whether the salary of that employee object is greater than 10,000 or not. If it is going to be greater than 10,000, I'm going to store it inside a list. Okay. Now, the thing over here is this filter operation which you see is basically a lazy operation. This is something that you need to remember. What do you mean by lazy operation? Lazy operation basically means ki Baba, this is not going to be called unless the terminal operation is first called. Like there should be a terminal operation. Terminal operation means this is the end operation. So over here, until you're calling the toList method, this method is not going to be executed. Okay, this is what you mean by lazy operation. And because this particular intermediate operation is a lazy operation, what happens over here is the performance of your stream is a little bit fast. Okay, so unless you call it terminal operation, it's not going to call this filter operation. Okay, so over here, we are going to get a toList and we will store it, okay, the final result in a list of employee. Because if I'm going to bring my cursor to toList, okay, which you're not able to see right now, but toList basically returns me a list of employee, because the data which I'm giving over here is what? A employee list, okay. So this is going to be for the final result. And what I can do is, I can literally print the list, okay, like this. So if I just do this, click on the play button, voila, boom, you're going to get Shreya, which has a salary of 15,000, and Raj, which has a salary of 20,000. But Rahul and Jatin, they are not actually printed. I hope this particular part makes sense to everyone. Quickly write this particular code out here and practice it off. Even if you know this particular stuff, make sure you understand, because in the interview, you're supposed to explain, okay, what exactly the whole code that you have written, what it means. Quickly write it down. All right, guys, I hope you have written the code so far. Now, again, a lot of time in interview, they will also ask questions like, sort the list on the basis of salary. Okay. Now, over here, you will notice that Jatin is having salary 10,000, then Shreya is 15,000, Raj is 20,000, then Rahul is 5,000. These salaries are not in the sorted order. If we are going to sort this entire list, Rahul will be first in this particular list, then it is going to be Jatin, then it's going to be Shreya because salary is 15,000, then we're going to have Raj, which is going to be 20,000. So if you want to sort the list on the basis of salary, how we can do it with the help of stream, okay? What you're going to do is you're going to take the employee list, you're going to apply a stream as usual. Then you're going to use the sorted method. Now, you're going to give a comparator. We will technically be comparing it off. It's very simple over here. So over here, you're going to take two objects of your employee list. And you can give any reference. I'm going to say over here EMP1, okay, and EMP2. Okay, you're going to use the lambda expression. And then what you're going to say double. Okay, let's put this in a round bracket. I forgot to do that. Okay, it's going to be in the round bracket. Then you're going to say double dot, let's use double dot compare. Okay, and over here we will be taking employee 1 dot get salary, and here we're going to give employee2 dot get salary. Then once this is done, you need to collect the result. Okay. So over here, you're just going to put a round bracket dot collect salary. Okay. Collect. And you are just going to say collector dot to list. Done. That's it. Now, over here, we will be getting the result, okay, in a list only. But this list, what we will be getting is going to be sorted on the basis of salary. So let's put over here sorted by salary. Control Shift F. Let's zoom out. Okay. Oops. Let's zoom in. Let's hit enter. And technically, I can just use the same stuff. Let's put this chap over here and let's apply a simple for each over here. Okay. Oops. Let's copy this. Let's paste it over here. Let's save it. Let's click on the play button. And you will notice that first we are having Rahul, then Jatin, then Shreya, then Raj. We have sorted it on the basis of salary. Okay. So again, these two questions have been asked a lot in interviews. So please make sure that you practice pretty well. So that's it for this particular class. Now I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Don't forget to mark your attendance. Okay. If you like this particular video, please make sure you share it off with your friends. I'm going to see you guys in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.